Okay, we are joined again by the driver of the number 18 M&M's red, white, and blue Toyota. For Joe Gibbs Racing, that's Kyle Busch. He will start on the front row for the second time in his Coca-Cola 600 career. First time was a pole winning run in 2008 where he finished third. Maybe just talk about starting on the front row and how track position in that starting spot will help you come Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, we kind of learned that from last Saturday night. Track position means a lot here, so certainly better to start up front than to start farther back. So we'll take that, but it doesn't necessarily where you start. Matters more about where you finish with this long, grueling 600-mile race. So, you know, good pit selection for us. Gives us the opportunity to kind of choose where we want and be in a good spot for the daytime on Sunday.
Okay, we'll open up to questions for Kyle. Raise your hand. We'll start Kenny and then go to Monty.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. How much of what you did out there tonight actually transfers into the race? I mean, just how much will you guys have to change to go away from that?
I mean, your line and everything that you're running is about how you're going to run your lines and your fast laps when you got fresh tires when you race. But other than that, you know, it's pretty much about it. So you're just trying to fine-tune your groove and where you want to be and your throttle points and brake points and everything like that. So that's kind of it. I felt like, you know, I got beat just a little bit today on my line, but I feel like my line is definitely better for racing conditions maybe than qualifying conditions showed tonight. So, you know, it would have been nice to have gotten the pole. That would have been a tick better. But, you know, overall, you got to look forward to just having a good, solid, comfortable car for 600 miles.
Monty?
Monty Dutton. Kyle, since qualifying has changed, a lot of it is a matter of strategy, of saving rubber. The guy may win the pole, not who's fastest, but who has the freshest rubber. What does this make the start of a race a little bit more unsteady because there may be a little upward and downward mobility when that gets rearranged, a little sorted out?
With having to start on your qualifier?
What I'm getting around to is qualifying a legitimate measure of prospects in as much as it once was, given the format? Yeah,
I think so. I think, you know, I mean, look at it years ago, back in early 2000s through 2005, 6, how many times did you see Matt Kenseth qualify good? And then he would race good or have the potential to win a race, you know, about never. So, you know, it's a little bit more indicative, I feel like, to qualifying well, racing well, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I'd like to think that we're the fastest guys in town, but certainly I think there's guys that are behind us that are pretty fast as well, too.
Jim?
Jim Utter, Motorsport.com. Kyle, you more than your teammates this season have been in position to win races even before the All-Star event. Whatever struggles that JGR has had as an organization, is there any way to quantify how much that may have contributed, how much more success you may have felt your team could have achieved so far this season?
I don't know, hard to tell. You know, I feel as though, you know, we're kind of leading the brigade a little bit, but sometimes it's Denny leading the brigade, sometimes it's Matt. You know, I remember we've kind of gone in cycles just as the sport goes in cycles on who's leading our team. But overall, I feel really good about the 18 team and our car and where we're at. You know, it shows that every week we continually work hard, just as hard, you know, that our teammates work, but our stuff's just prevailing a little bit better at the moment. So certainly that's just nice to have. You know, we're on a streak of a couple top fives here, so we'd like to keep that going. And when you run top fives, the wins will come. And obviously we were able to just put ourselves in the right position Saturday night. Hopefully the right position will present itself here this Sunday night.
We get a mic to Bob, or Jacob, I'm sorry, Jacob, you got a mic, and then we'll go to Bob.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Kyle, as far as you mentioned earlier that qualifying isn't necessarily everything when it comes to race pace, but it seems like you've had consistent speed since you guys unloaded last week. Do you attribute any of the speed you've shown so far this weekend to things that you learned in the All-Star race?
Yes, certainly. You know, we definitely unloaded today with a little bit different package to just kind of improve on what we learned last week and what I felt and what we all talked about as a team in our team meeting, and we were able to you know, put all those changes to our car. And I feel like actually, you know, there's a lot of Toyotas, if you look at it in the top 12, top 15, I'm not exactly sure where the 78 and 77 ended up, but I saw the 11 pretty close to me and the 20 pretty close to me. So, you know, feels good that we're all working together as a group, and the things that we say, our guys at the shop and crew chiefs can work on those things in order to make ourselves better.
Go up here to Bob.
I'm
Get a-
Bob Cocker, ESPN. As a guy who's probably left some playoff points on the table, is it safe to assume you're happy that there's an extra playoff point available on Sunday?
As of right now, yes, if I'm able to collect all those playoff points, but if I'm not and somebody else that already has them is, then no. You know, so yeah, the opportunity's there and presents itself, and you know, starting up front, that should hopefully help those things. But man, it's a long race, and 100 laps is a long way each time in order to collect on those points. So we'll see.
Okay, any other questions for Kyle? Kyle, congratulations.
All right,
Front row
thanks.
start. Good luck on Sunday. Congrats, kid. Okay, we are here with our poll winner for the Coca-Cola 600, the 58th annual Coca-Cola 600, and that is the driver of the number 4 Mobile One Ford for Stewart-Haas Racing, Kevin Harvick. Kevin, this is your 20th career poll. That ties you on the all-time list with 2 pretty good names, Neil Bonnet and Benny Parsons. So congratulations for that. But talk about your poll. Good pit selection, good track position. How does this help you out on Sunday?
Well, I never thought I'd even be close to anywhere on that list, so for years. But you know, I think as you look at you know, our cars have been fast. We've qualified well. We've had a lot of speed, and we just hadn't put together the weekend. But we've been running well, and tonight is no different. The car unloaded fast, and it was very edgy to drive. It was definitely a hairy lap, but you know, I think that the main thing is the car went really well through turns 3 and 4, and that's always our goal, to get the car to turn through the middle of 3 and 4 and be able to stay in the gas. So first round I about spun out in 1 and 2 and had to make some adjustments in what I was doing. From the Xfinity car to the Cup car is a big difference. So I was a little bit too aggressive in the first round, and was able to find a happy medium with what I needed to be doing, and they made the car a little bit better, and we were able to capitalize on a fast Ford.
All right, thank you, Kevin. We'll kick it off to questions. Start up here in the front. And then we'll go to
Kevin P. McCall with AutoRacing1.com. Traditionally, you haven't really qualified well here. You only had a 10 top 10 starts prior to this.
2 poles in a row, though.
But you got 2 poles in a row now. That's what I'm wondering. Have you guys hit on something, or is it the switch over to Ford, or is something magical that you guys have kind of hit on in the last couple of months with these cars?
Well, we did it in a Chevy too, so you know, I think it's just you know, I think Dax and Rodney are doing a good job of getting all the speed out of the cars, no matter what brand it is, or tires, or spoilers, or rules packages. It's just you know, it's something that we develop trends no matter what the rules are, and I think as you see those trends, whether it be qualifying or racing or setups or whatever the case may be, you know, it's important to recognize those trends and follow those trends through your setups and things as you go through the years. No matter what the spoilers are, there's still going to be balance and things that you look at in the simulation and setups and things that we do. So, you know, I feel like the communication and things that we have of what I'm looking for in the car and what they're putting in the car, you know, I feel like that's been really good over the last 2 years. Obviously, with Buga going to the 14, we had a little bit of a learning curve in there, but you know, we've long overcome that, and I think I feel like it just keeps getting better.
Go to Bob. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom, then Bob.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations
Thank you.
on the pole. Given that this race is an extra 100 miles, is it harder to win than any other race? Is it more physical? Is it more demanding? Is it tougher in any way?
You know, they're all hard to win. You know, I think that the hardest part about this race is probably just keeping all the parts and pieces together, just because of the fact that we don't normally run 600 miles, which means you run the same amount of laps in practice for the most part. They do put limits on how many laps we can run on the engine during practice, but we don't put limits on the parts and pieces. And you know, this is the one time a year that we run 600 miles, so there's always new parts and pieces on the car, and you never know. And I think you see some of that show up sometimes mentally it's a hard race because there's a lot to take in starting in the day. It'll be hot. The cars will be different than what they were in practice, and you know that it's 600 miles. You go into the night, so there's a lot of things that are going on that you have to take in, whether it be a 400 or 500 mile race, let alone a 600 mile race. So it's a very, very, very challenging race just for the fact that it's long, it's hot, and Charlotte's it's a demanding racetrack. So you carry a lot of speed. So physically and mentally, you better be ready to go in order to hold that for 4.5. Physically and mentally to hold the pace that you need to for 4.5, 5 hours.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. You have 3 playoff points this year. The fact that there are 3, that there's 8, but an extra stage, an extra playoff point available, does that make any sort of difference, either how you race or how you look at the impact of this race?
It definitely will have an impact. I don't think you're going to race any different because you want to lead as many laps as you can and score as many points as you can. So, I think obviously for us, we gained a big advantage with the pit stall. Pit stall 1 here is a huge advantage under caution. So I think as you look at the 4th stage and the extra 10 points and the extra bonus points, you want to go out and grab those. And we've obviously had a little bit of trouble in the first 11 or 12 weeks. We've had 3 or 4 little bump ups and cost us some points, and Sunday's a good night to gain all those, gain some of those back. You're not going to gain them all back, but you can gain a big chunk of points just by having some good stage finishes and hopefully maybe winning 1 or 2 here or there.
Go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Since your comments Tuesday night on your radio show about the trucks schedule and going back to the grassroots and some of those tracks, have you gotten any more feedback, any more you thought about it?
I can't walk anywhere and not have somebody talk to me about the Truck Series schedule. I think it's something that a lot of people want to say and haven't said, but I think it's definitely time to look at the grassroots sides of things, and I think the Truck Series is a grassroots division, and if you could just for example take it somewhere like Nashville Speedway and pair it up with the All-American 400 and put the All-American 400 in Nashville back on the map with a Truck Series race with some safer barriers, get the city of Nashville involved, and that's just one race. I think it would be very interesting, and I feel like that's regionally that's a big touring race. You go up to Oxford, Maine, but getting the TV to these cars and these local racers and these people and the enthusiasm that it brings to a local market, that's what the Truck Series does. And when you look at Eldora and you look at these races, the road race in Canada, you look at these one-off events, every one of them are well attended. Every one of them are exciting and well attended. So we need events, and I think it's a great way to reinvest from the bottom up in different facilities. And you could sit here and name a bunch of them, but and what better way to show them you care than putting soft walls up at the racetrack somehow, some way to get the cities involved in the racetrack and work on getting those sanctioning fees down and get them to places where they can knock the fenders off of each other and put on a great show, much like they do at Eldora. I mean, it's got 20-some thousand people there every time we show up, and everybody loves watching on a Wednesday night.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask you. You just mentioned there too is lowering the sanctioning fees. Now, obviously, I know the purse money isn't there's a lot more money that goes into a team than purse money, and that's a small percentage. But if you're cutting that back, I'm trying to look at it from a truck owner's perspective. These are great ideas, but how does it help?
The TV money is still how they all survive.
I'm sorry?
The TV money is still how everyone survives. So, that's the reason a lot of these racetracks take these truck races now, is because the sanctioning fee the TV money went up. So, there's a reason that they want to all keep them. But there's ways to make all this work. It's not just everybody doesn't need to have their hand out. They need to be thinking from the bottom up, and how do we make this better? And you look at some of these historic, just really great short tracks across the country, and that's where our trucks. I'm not saying we need to take them from Daytona or Phoenix or some of these other places, but there are some places that they don't need to be going, and I think it would be interesting to revive the Copper Classic and start the season with the trucks out there and see the sprint cars show back up, and the TV is going to be there to cover it. So now you can film all these races and put these guys on TV, and all of a sudden there's TV there and they can get better sponsorship. And so there's a lot of things that you could do, and like you say, it has to be something that everybody buys into that is worried about making money.
Jacob, and we'll wrap it up there.
Jacob Zimmerman, Performance Motorsports Network. Kevin, as far as especially your recent surge here at Charlotte, I've seen people make big things in the past about changes of scenery, and I think we all can agree that that's helped you moving over to SHR, but do you feel like you've peaked in a way, found a peak in your driving since going to Stewart-Haas, that you're driving better now than you have been at any other point in your career?
I think it's a number of things. I think as a driver, I feel like I can get better every week. I think there's a number of things to look at every week of what other people are doing, and you see young people, old people, new drivers, old drivers come through that look at things differently, and that's really always been my approach is to walk into the garage every week with an open mind. But I think that the biggest thing for me since I've come to Stewart-Haas is just how the team has gelled, how myself and Rodney get along, and really everybody on the team get along from the top down. And you have that chemistry really throughout the whole company. Obviously, Tony and Gene are very young compared to a lot of the other owners in the garage. Management is very young, in the same generation, I guess you could say, that I am, and we have a lot in common. Most all of us have kids. We all want to accomplish the same goals. Nobody's arguing and fighting. It's on a non-productive weekend, you come back and you say, here's what I screw up, here's what I think you screwed up, and they'll tell me here's what I screwed up and here's what you screwed up. And as long as you can have that open dialogue and communicate, and be honest with each other about when things are going good and when things are going bad, and have an open mind to change. It's been great for me. It opened my mind up to when I had change, to how refreshing and how exciting change can be. And I think I've just been able to be more balanced, I guess you could say, from a personal standpoint in life. And I think that the racetrack has helped my life too, just because of the fact you see how much better it is over here, and they just bounce off of each other because you keep fine-tuning both sides, and things continuously get better with that same open mind approach, whether it's at home or professionally.
Kevin, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. Did you notice any difference with the grip at the top of the track, either in practice or qualifying?
With the Cup car, I never really went anywhere but the middle of the racetrack, coming to the green through turns 3 and 4. In the Xfinity car, I ran up there a lot, just trying to keep a temperature on where the racetrack was going. But it's not going to be immediate because of the fact that, when you look at Bristol, it took it a while to kind of get run in. And I think by the time we get done with the Xfinity race, I think that the track will be run in. And I really do think there's going to be multiple grooves, and it's going to be interesting because it's not going to be like it is today, because there's just not enough action on it. But it definitely got better during the 2 Xfinity practices that we ran, and by the time we got done, the middle of the racetrack was pretty close to as fast as the bottom of the racetrack, which is what everybody's looking for.
Go to Jim and wrap it up with a read.
JimMutterMotorsport.com. Kevin, so far this season, you guys seem to have your best performances have been on intermediate tracks. Would you say?
Thank goodness.
that do you feel that's where you guys have been your best, or is it more been circumstances?
No, and I think that's especially switching over manufacturers and switching to Ford. I mean, that's got to be your first focus, because that's where the majority of things happen. We ran great at Bristol and Richmond. The super speedways have been good. Our worst racetrack has notoriously been Martinsville, and has been Martinsville this year too. So, but our mile-and-a-half stuff, we obviously put a lot of effort into, because that's the bread and butter of what you need to be the best on, and I think that's what we've done the past few years, and we've definitely had a lot of speed and put ourselves in position to have some opportunities. But you got to remember, I mean, we're still only 11 or 12 weeks into this whole thing, and you know, we're still chugging along, trying to. They've done a great job. Don't get me wrong, but we have a lot of room to make things better, and a lot of things to still iron out. You guys don't see a lot of things that happen, and they do a great job of doing what we need to do at the racetrack. But sometimes it doesn't go as 100% smooth like you would want it to, and I'd say over the last month it's been a lot smoother. But you know, it's still been a huge undertaking, and the progression has been good. And I feel like it can be better, and I think everybody feels it can be better, and I think that's the cool part about everything that we have going on is everybody knows it can be better, so they're all constantly working and thinking and pushing forward, and that's been great to watch, and it's been a huge project, but it's been something that, for me, it's been fun to watch because you just see all the moving parts and pieces and the people come together to do, when it's fine-tuned, hopefully something great.
We'll wrap it up with Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service.
Yeah,
Yesterday, right here.
I'm sorry.
Yesterday at the Hall of Fame, Ron Hornaday had some very complimentary things to say about what you and Delana have meant for his career. How gratifying for you was it to see him get in the Hall of Fame?
You know, I've been fortunate to sit on that hall panel, and when I walked in, I had 5 names written in my notebook, and I walked out with 4 different names and one that I started with. And, you know, I'm the worst fan in the world when my friends or clients, and I looked at the ballot sheet, and I'm always pulling for Ron to you know, as I did, and I've been pulling for Ron the whole time. But you look at all the other names, and you're like, oh, man, how's he going to beat Bobby Labonte or Alan Kawicki or, you know, Roger Penske or this guy or that guy. And, you know, I saw the voting actually this morning. And I sent him a text, and I know he's probably got 1 million texts, and I haven't had my phone in 6 hours. But I remember, and I don't remember exactly who said it, but it was definitely one of the veterans of our sport. And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday, because I remember him saying, this is not a NASCAR Premier Series Hall of Fame. This is the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And when you think about it that way, and a guy's got 4 championships and came along with the start of a series and changed the complexion of a sport, drove for one of the icons in our sport, in Dale Earnhardt, and started truck series and had his own chassis shop and raced in all the regional and late model series at you know, every short track across the country. And then to have him drive for me, and you know, the history that Ron and I have together from a personal standpoint is it's just neat to see. And you know, when you see all that come together, and I saw it this morning, and I was like, man, that is just the ultimate compliment to a guy who has given his whole life to building and racing and being a part of it, and sacrificed to everything that he's had, been in debt, been upside down, and just helped, you know, half the garage, you know, get to where they are with giving them cars or letting them sleep on his couch or whatever the case may be. And it's great to see, you know, that happen for him, and I'm just proud to be a small part of it, because he's earned everything that he's ever gotten his whole life. So it's been neat to see.
That's a great way to end it. Kevin, congratulations on the pole, and good luck on Sunday. Thank you.